The UConn Huskies earn a decisive victory over the Indiana Hoosiers. 77-57 is the final score. I got Carter Elliott here with me. I am Greg Waddell, Sleepers Media, doing a recap for you. Indiana, we didn't expect much. Like, the spread opened at 11.5, then it came up to 12.5. You and I, more importantly, have been super critical of the Hoosiers all offseason, all early season. Pretty much everything we've seen about this program we have not liked. We thought this would be a brutal matchup because all Indiana can do is score inside, and UConn normally very good at taking away inside scoring. Kel'el Ware, to that point, 2 for 10 from the floor tonight. Malik Reneau did get his. He was fantastic, 7 for 9 from the floor. But in the end, 20-point loss to UConn, who I don't even think played particularly well today. 31% from 3 for the Huskies. Xavier Johnson, I know I'm box score reading, but Xavier Johnson only 14 minutes in this game due to foul trouble. He had 3 fouls in the first half. To me, that was the stick the fork in a moment for Indiana. You're not going to beat anybody if Xavier Johnson is on the bench for 26 of the 40 minutes of the game. So did you come away from this game surprised by anything, or is this just like validation for everything we've been saying?
Yeah, the thing is, I don't want to come on these recaps and have it as like a victory lap type situation, or even a situation where me and you are just going back and forth and be like, oh, we were wrong about this team. I really want to truly break it down and analyze it and give like the recap that the people deserve here. But unfortunately, there's going to be semi of a victory lap in this, because this is exactly what people who are skeptical about the Indiana Hoosiers coming into the year, this is what it was about. It was about the roster construction, it was about the shooting, and it was about the guard play. And all that came basically to a crashing halt, or whatever you want to say, in this game. And unfortunately, I really don't know what the necessary fix is for this at all. I mean, after the game, Hurley took to the podium and said, like, we know what this team is about. Paint, paint, paint. They can't shoot yet, but they haven't proved they can shoot yet this year. That's going to be the game plan for a lot of teams this year. And as Mike Woodson looks down his bench, I mean, there's not really many options on that bench to find shooters, and then you're not getting much from your own backcourt as far as shooting, as far as the starting backcourt is shooting as well. And then, you know, Kel'el Ware has played fantastic up until this point. Well, you kind of saw the floating around, just out there things today, which is it was covered up a little bit by Malik Reneau's play. But if I'm an Indiana Hoosier fan, I'm pretty concerned with where this team's going to go. And the fact that you lost by 20 and UConn didn't necessarily play well, is it too harsh to kind of put this in this is an embarrassing loss category? I mean, it was a very tough showing with a lot of people watching.
I think I've been as vocally critical of Indiana as anybody on the internet. I don't think I would say this is alarming loss, though. Like, I think this is just like UConn's the defending.
Okay, but don't let me cut you off though, Greg. But is it not alarming because this is what you thought the Indiana team is going to be? I think it should be alarming for folks who maybe were higher on Indiana, because, like I said, the shooting ain't walking through the door. Shooting ain't walking through Assembly Hall. This roster is what it is. This is what Woodson put out there. Now, can he pull some strings to make this work? Possibly, but at the same time, like, he's not a miracle worker. I really don't know what string there is to pull with this team.
So a couple of things. Probably you're right. Like, it probably is a mix of that for me. But also, I think if you had asked any Indiana fan before the ball was tipped off in this game, if you had told them at the end of this game, Kel'el Ware is going to be 2 for 10 from the floor, Xavier Johnson is going to play 14 minutes, finish with 4 points, Mackenzie Mbako is going to finish 0 for 3 from the floor with 2 points, and Gabe Cupps, 0 points. Cardio Gabe off the bench, 0 again today. Every Indiana fan on earth would have been like, oh yeah, we're losing by 40. So to me, like, oddly, I found myself during this game, genuinely, when there's like 15 minutes left in the second half and I'm looking at the box score and I'm watching what I see with my eyes, I found myself being like, how is Indiana only down 7 right now? Because there was a very clear moment early in the second half where UConn missed like 3 consecutive threes on 3 possessions, and Indiana was somehow in a 7-point game. And I just was watching this, like, you add it all up, they should be down 20. And in the end, they were down 20. But, like, to me, that's kind of it's like when you take a sip of something and you get the taste left in your mouth that you weren't expecting. That's how I am with Indiana right now. I don't think they did anything well today, except for Malik Reneau got his offensively. They are the team who I thought they were. I just have like a weird different taste in my mouth after watching that game of like, well, shit, they were in a game with UConn, even though they played horribly. I didn't expect that could happen. By the way, I'm workshopping a nickname. You tell me if this is like too horrible that we can't put our sleeper stamp on this or not. I'm working on Keenan and kel'el Ware for kel'el Ware. Keenan and kel'el, because he's really, really good, and then he just disappears. That's Keenan and Kel. Really, really good show, and then he disappeared.
And one might say he's not all that.
Oh, okay. So we can rock with that. So
okay, we can rock with that.
Keenan.
Wait,
sorry.
we can rock with that. We could put our stamp on that one.
Okay, so Keenan and kel'el Ware tonight, 11 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, almost a double-double. He floated to the perimeter more, I thought. 4 of his 10 shots were from three-point range. Now, he did hit 2 of them. But this was kind of like he's been so dominant for him in these other games. And then tonight against a UConn team that has an All-American at center, it's like, oh, Ware's kind of having the motor issues. Oh, Ware's on the perimeter. And then on the flip side, we've talked about how it doesn't match well with him and Renault and Mbako, obviously. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Ware struggled tonight and Renault was really good. I think it's always kind of going to be one of the two. You said before the season, Renault is going to be this team's best offensive player. It's not a good thing if he's their best player, right? We can say that after tonight now.
Yeah. I was mainly saying that I think Renault should be the best. Well, I guess that kind of points to my point going the wrong way too. I thought that Renault would end up being the most talented of the front court players, which, credit to Malik Renault in this game. Like I thought that he noticed that he was guarded by Caravan, who has the size, but he doesn't necessarily have maybe the strength or the poundage to kind of mess with Renault in the post. But I think even looking at this game, it was one where I was going through the box score, and as I was watching the game, and as you're watching, you're like, man, like UConn's getting all the loose balls. UConn's a tougher team. UConn is having all these offensive boards, and it just points to the fact that, like, if you are gonna have all these front court players on the court, you can't get offensive rebound. You can't get out rebounded like that, especially on the offensive end. Like, yes, you might have shortcomings as far as spacing, but you at least got to hold down your bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to put 3 bigs out there. Rebounding should never be an issue. So, where does Indiana necessarily go from here? I've been thinking about that a lot. I don't know if you necessarily have an answer, but I would love to hear it.
I'll tell you where they go. They go to 13th in the Big Ten. That's where they go. Yeah, that's where they go. This is one of the worst teams in a really, really bad conference. That's where they are. Like, can it change? Maybe. Like, certainly when you get into Big Ten play, like, kel'el Ware alone is enough to go win games like any given night. Like, can this team beat Iowa because he goes crazy? Absolutely. It can happen all the time. But like the mean of it all, like you got to play a 20-game schedule, right? So when you average it out over 20 games, I think this team is not going to like where they find themselves, because they just have so many clear issues that aren't going to fix themselves, really. They're going to have to win games through those issues. Also, last thing on Indiana, then I want to talk UConn briefly. I'm sorry I'm saying this, Indiana fans. At what point does Mackenzie Mbako just say, you know what, it's NBA time? What's he getting out of playing 20 minutes a game, not scoring? Like, all he's doing is killing his stock, playing the 3 for this team.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess this is where we might differ also on this. I don't know if Mackenzie Mbako would necessarily look good at any position. I think we're maybe seeing that Mackenzie Mbako's just maybe one of those highly rated guys that might take a little bit longer to put it together than others. Like, I don't think it's one and done territory. I think he might need some more time or something like that. I don't want to blame it all on positioning necessarily, because, even at the 3 position, I still think there should be moments where, like, oh, Mackenzie Mbako's out there. It's way too many situations where you're like, he's not on the floor when he is on the floor. So it's just like, I don't know. I think maybe they just need to kind of temper the one and done expectations of him. I just don't think he's that guy.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Year 2 of Mbako could be special, especially if he's not playing the 3. I'm very intrigued by that. Tristan Newton, I thought, was fantastic for UConn. He finishes with 23, 11, and 6. His handprints were all over this game, though. Donovan Clingan, only 1 for 3 from the floor. I know a lot of people threw him in the National Player of the Year conversation. I thought his presence was all over this game, even if the shot attempts weren't necessarily. He was the best big in this game by far. I had someone tweet at me, though, like, is it time for the Clingan greater than Edey conversation? And I was just like, No, that's not like, at what point in Zach Edey's career has he ever gone 1 for 3 from the floor in a game?
Was there conversation that Kling was better than Edey?
I don't know. Apparently in somebody's circles in my Twitter mentions there was, but
I'm glad I'm not in that circle. I will never be present in that circle. Let that be known.
Is this UConn team a Final Four team? Are they Final Four good? National title good?
I think fully healthy they are. I truly do, because you got to also remember they're missing Stephon Castle, and Stephon Castle's highly regarded as like a top 10, top 15 draft pick, and I think he's actually worthy of that pick. And I think that he does do some good things for this team. Like you said, UConn didn't necessarily play well in this game, and they were able to get a pretty easy 20-point win against, say what you want, they were able to get a win against a Big Ten team that is whatever you want to say. It wasn't no cupcake team. Now, they do have to get fully healthy, but they just have like so many options. And man, Tristan Newton was impressing the hell out of me. Like, there was like, I really want to look back to last year, what game it was when he turned the corner, because there was like the turnover issues with him and everything going on. And then from the moment he took the turn, it was just like they're getting better. Next thing you know, they're winning the national championship. And then he's continuing that this season, picking up for the pieces that left last season and picking up with the injury of Stephon Castle. He just does so many things. It's like, it's really impressive. And I know that there was some joke or something like on one of the Field of 68 After Dark said like Tristan Newton, Big East Player of the Year. I think that's a little bit too far, but like when you're thinking of best point guards in the country, I think Tristan Newton should be in that conversation. He's that good.
Yeah, you know what it is. It's year 2 up transfer guard. We're seeing it play out before our eyes. Like he was year 1, he showed flashes, he had some triple-double stuff, and now here we are.
Why are none of our analytical friends doing this?
I don't know.
If we had the wherewithal and the capacity to do it, and we were a math podcast, we come up with some equation that would relate to year 2 up transfers. Because I literally feel like year 2 up transfers always hit for the most part.
Yeah. If we were hashtag a math podcast, we would quantify the up jump. Yeah. As I'm referring
to. If y'all get Jalen Wellen back, I mean, good Lord, who knows?
I don't know if that's going to qualify. Yeah, I think to summarize my thoughts on UConn, like obviously, they missed the stud freshman. They had another stud freshman ball in, and I thought he looked fine. Like he's not a huge caliber drop off to me. You might argue with me on that, but I think the more important thing with UConn, even without Castle, is their top 4 to me is probably the best 4 in the country. And I'm talking Clingan, I'm talking Newton, I'm talking Caravan, I'm talking Spencer. Because when you look at the other teams at the top of the sport, Kansas, we've talked about how there's a huge drop-off after the top 3 of Harris, McCullough, Dickinson, right? Purdue, huge drop-off after the top 3 of Smith, Lawyer, Edey. Like, to me, UConn has that 4th guy. And there's going to be nights this year where Cam Spencer makes 7 threes and gets you 25 points. Like, he's that good. There's going to be nights where Tristan Newton gets a triple-double. There's going to be nights where Donovan Clingan goes for 20 and 20. They can beat you a bazillion different ways. They're super balanced. And then you add 2 5-star freshmen when they get Castle back healthy as the 5th, 6th guys. Like, this team's nearly as deep as they were last season. And it's a credit to what Hurley's building with the fact that they've just reloaded so quickly and retained some of these guys and meshed the portal with the freshmen. Like, it's really, really impressive. That program's in a really healthy spot. But to summarize, UConn, super national contender level. Indiana, I mean, like, is the NIT still around this year? Can they reach the 3rd round of the NIT?
They wouldn't go. They would deny it. They'd turn it down.
That doesn't seem like Mike Woodson. I think he'd show up.
It just means more in Bloomington, you know?
That's true. All right. Well, yeah, fun game, fun, entertaining game. Thanks, Indiana, for making it interesting for a while. And subscribe to the Sleepers Media channel, by the way, where you can get all of our game recaps and previews and episodes of the Sleepers podcast 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We'll see you next time.